Is it visible, madam? Just confirm.
Yes, madam. Yes, your
Yes,
screen is clearly
Yes,
visible.
sir, it's visible.
yes, it
Right,
is
sir.
visible, ma'am.
I can keep it on this mode itself, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes, this is okay.
Okay.
Aishwarya, madam, please start.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. On behalf of Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigri, Pune, I, Dr. Aishwarya Parak, welcome you all for the last day of AICT-sponsored short-term training program on innovations in effective teaching, learning, pedagogy, and research skill development. Before starting the session, I request all participants to raise questions and queries about the lecture in the Zoom chat box. Participants kindly fill the attendance at the link provided in Zoom chat box. Participants should submit daily quiz and feedback on the link provided at Telegram group after the session will be over. So starting with our first lecture, we have with us a very young and dynamic speaker, Dr. Hema Chaudhary Madam. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hema Chaudhary Madam is currently working as Dean, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, PDM University, Bahadurgarh, Haryana. She has completed her PhD at Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi in 2012. She has completed her BPharm and MPharm at Government College of Pharmacy, Bangalore, Bangalore University, Karnataka. She has total 22 years of academic experience and has worked as head professor, vice principal, principal, and dean at Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, PDM University, Bahadurgarh, Haryana. She is recipient of many awards in her academic work experience. To name a few: Higher Educational Professional of the Year North Award at EdTech Review, Higher Ed Awards in 2019 at Bangalore, SPER Principal of the Year Award by Society of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Chennai in 2018. She is recipient of Senior Research Fellowship by CSIR in 2010. She is also recipient of number of prizes and scholarships during her academic tenure. She has worked as inspection team member of Uttarakhand Technical University, Dehradun, and as member of Academic Council and Board of Management, PDM University. She has also worked as member of examination panels of universities like Pandit Bhagavad Dayal Sharma University of Health Sciences, Rohtak, Maharshi Dayanand University, Rohtak, School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi, Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, New Delhi, PDM University, Bahadurgarh. She has been PhD and PG examiner for Sam Higginbottom Institute of Agriculture, Technology and Sciences, Allahabad, Jodhpur National University, Jodhpur, Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi, Delhi Pharmaceutical Sciences and Research University, New Delhi, Bhagwant University, Ajmer, Rajasthan. She has been appointed as editorial advisory board member of Asian Journal of Pharmaceutical Technology and Innovation and as reviewer in International Journal of Biological Macromolecules. She is registered peer reviewer in nanomedicine, nanotechnology, biology and medicine and reviewer in Journal of Liposome Research. She worked as newsletter editorial member APTI Women Forum in 2018-19. She was coordinator for the National Conference on E-Learning, MOOCs and Quality in Higher Education at PDM University in collaboration with Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center for MHRD at SGTB Khalsa College, University of Delhi in 2018. She was convener and coordinator of various national level PDMU, SPER, and AICT sponsored seminars. Her area of research includes transdermal drug delivery, oral bioavailability enhancement techniques, novel drug delivery systems. She has total 59 publications on her name, out of which 44 are international and 15 are national, with API score 216, with total citations 945, H index 12, and I10 index 13. She is recipient of two AICT sponsored research projects under the Research Promotion Scheme with grants of 12 lakhs and 13 lakhs respectively. She is currently guiding and has guided number of MPharm and PhD students till date. She has delivered guest lectures at various quality improvement programs, national and international webinars, and conferences organized at all over India on wide range of topics like current trends in formulation development and quality assurance, on scope and challenges in pharmacy profession, women empowerment, drug development and discovery, MOOC movement in world, good educational practices, drug delivery aspect of polyherbal formulations and formulation of herbal drugs. She has been resource person, chairperson, co-chairperson, and evaluator at various national and international scientific sessions in various webinars and conferences all over India. She has one patent on formulation and optimization of gels of NSAID along with curcuminoids for transdermal drug delivery. In her professional affiliations, she worked as coordinator APTI Women Forum in 2019 to 21. She is vice president at SPER Women Forum. She is member of WICI, that is Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She is ex-vice president APTI Haryana chapter. She is co-convener at APTI Women Forum Haryana chapter. She is ex-president SPER Haryana chapter, and she is life member of APTI and IPGA. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to start and share your knowledge on topic teaching learning pedagogy in post-pandemic era, challenges in the face of paradigm shift. Welcome, ma'am, and you can start with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya madam, for giving such an elaborate introduction. Thank you. Yeah, ma'am, just confirm my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, sir. A very good morning to all. First of all, I take this opportunity to thank PE Society's Modern College of Pharmacy, NIGDI, Pune, to having invited me to deliver a talk during this AICT-sponsored online short-term training program. And I'll be talking on the topic teaching learning pedagogies in post-pandemic era, challenges in the face of paradigm shift. I would like to begin with status quo. That is, what is the current scenario in today's time? Our educational institution today have Generation Z. We call them also as Centennials or Zoomers. This is the generation who were born between 1997 to 2012. And this generation has grown up in a truly globalized world. Now, this generation has one more fear that we call it as fear of being alone. And also it has been analyzed that this generation suffers from fear of missing out. So they rely on instant communication means and feedback. That is, they believe in using technology like instant messengers, Snapchat and WhatsApp. The generation which is going to follow Generation Z is Generation Alpha. That is the one who are born between 2011 to 2025. Now, these are the children of Generation Millennials and the future is theirs. Why I introduce these generations is today our Generation Z, which are in our educational institution pursuing higher education, or they are approaching 25 years of age. Now they are living in a world which is driven by technology. And the Generation Alpha, which is going to precede them, they will also be influenced by technology and the technology would be a part of their life. So it is projected by a report by Dell Technologies that by 2030, these generations which will be entering into various jobs. Now, these are the jobs which are not even invented yet. So we have a big challenge in front of us that we'll have to cater to the needs of the technology and we'll have to make these generations ready for the future. Now we need to understand what is the current COVID impact or the staggering impact on our educational sector. First and foremost, the COVID-19, as we all are aware, it brought about the forced shutdown of all our educational institutions, not only in India, but across the globe. It was also a particular challenge to have an urgent and unexpected need to teach online the various courses which we were teaching face to face and take it to the online mode. It was very challenging situation for all teachers or of different backgrounds, ages, who had to prepare and deliver classes from home, along with the challenge of having learning the new practical and technical challenges for delivering online lectures. And most and foremost important aspect was that our teachers had to have sufficient pedagogical content knowledge, which I believe, including all of us, we lacked this when we were asked to move overnight on online mode. There were various news which were being covered across the globe showing the impact of COVID on education sector. One of the news which was covered was by The Guardian, which indicated that the education sector was hardest hit, though the coronavirus had an impact and it battered the UK economy. So such coverages were very, very oftenly seen by media coverage that the education sector was also hit very hard by this pandemic. So we needed a paradigm shift. Now, paradigm shift basically is a fundamental change in our approach. So this was very much needed as we had to move from face-to-face learning to virtual learning. And virtual learning was referred to be the catalyst for education sector. As it is very well quoted by John F. Kennedy that change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past and present are not going to be certain of the future. It's very rightly said. So we need to live in the present, but also remember what is in store in the near future. So that is why we needed a paradigm shift, which was a big challenge for all the educational institutions to shift from the virtual mode in response to the current pandemic. This new normal, which we have adapted to live with, has brought in online learning. And this online learning has catalyzed a pedagogical shift in how we teach and learn. This online learning mode is student-centric because we moved away from top-down lecturing and passive students, and we moved into a more interactive, collaborative co-learner approach. Also, this kind of learning is teacher-centric, as gone are the days where the teacher's role was being just sage on the stage, and today it is to be the guide on the side. Before I go into the depth of the topic, it is also important to analyze what could be the techniques and tactics, how to engage our learners. So I would go with a study and a strategic approach, which we call it as accept 8-second attention span. Now, what this exactly means is the Microsoft actually conducted a survey across the globe, and it found that a normal human attention span in today's time is just mere 8 seconds. You just have 8 seconds to impress anybody. It could be our learners also. So having this challenge in mind, it is very important to work out the strategies how to keep our learners engrossed. Now, this is 8-second attention span actually is been attracted by a goldfish, because it has been scientifically proven that a goldfish reacts in 9 seconds. And we have even outpowered a goldfish, and as a human, we have an 8-second span, which was actually 12 seconds in beginning of 2000. And now it has moved to 8 seconds. The reason being, human mind has become multitasking. And because of this, I don't know what wonders more the human brain can perform, but 8-second span is the today's time period where we need to capture the attention. After 8 seconds, one loses the attention. So for that reason, we need to work out on some tactics and some approaches wherein we communicate less, but we communicate more often to the learners. Not only that, we need to communicate in short and sharp bursts. We need to be quick. We need to reach to them in a very quick and an effective way. Effective, I mean to say, is by using pictures, emojis, videos, because audio visual clips are more interactive than mere audio clips. So gone are the days where we were working on verbos, emails, and memorandums. So you need to have lecturing with all these kind of technology pursuits, and all has to be done with the help of a technology. So this could be worked out when we have adapted a right technology in our teaching learning system. So now it is the time to sit and ponder and to think, what are the various teaching learning pedagogies one can use in teaching learning system? So if I take a pause and ponder into this, I would come out with some solutions. So I would like to introduce some teaching learning pedagogies. Now, when I talk about pedagogies, it is a term which refers to the method of how our teachers teach in theory and in practice. Now, online education is a highly diversified growing industry. It has become an industry now. Now, the reason of introducing it as a highly diversified growing industry is because it is covering all academic disciplines and also embracing technology. Now, when we have so much vast array or scope of this platform, it is very difficult to classify these online pedagogies. But we have attempted to classify into 10 different types of strategies, which I would be introducing. The first being called as blended learning. Now, blended learning is also referred as mixed mode learning. Now, it basically serves many different learning styles wherein we are actually going to talk about a combination of virtual and physical resources. Then we have the second type of learning pedagogy, that is hybrid learning. Actually, hybrid learning is very synonymous to blended learning, wherein there is a combination of face-to-face teaching along with virtual mode. Then we have flexible learning. Now, flexible learning is a generic term which is actually advantageous to the learner, because here the learner has a choice about what to read, where to read, how to read, or how to learn. And this could be synonymous to synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. Then we have distance education learning. When we talk about distance education learning, this skill is for adult learners and instructional systems delivering education when the learner is not at the site. So it is like distance mode of learning. We have next pedagogy, which is called as distributed learning. Now, distributed learning is for people who can educate themselves by engaging in learning activities at their own pace and at a self-selected time. We have e-learning concept. Now, e-learning is nothing but planned teaching learning. Now, it's a learning experience using wide spectrum of technologies, mainly internet, or we also refer it as computer-based learning, in order to teach learners. We have another system which we call it as online learning. Now, online learning is surely using internet to disseminate and manage our classrooms. Now, online learning is also referred as web-based learning. Now, web-based learning, actually these terms are very synonymously used. Sometimes it is also called as e-learning because it includes online course content, and the discussions could be done using emails, video conferencings, and live lectures. So even this is in some terms referred as virtual learning environment. Then we have M-learning. M-learning refers to using mobile devices like cell phones and iPods. We have virtual learning. Virtual learning is a learning environment where teacher and the student are separated by time or space. We refer it as virtual learning. And finally, we have open learning. Open learning basically is called as flexible learning, or it is synonymous to flexible learning, where the student has the choice about the time, what he wants to choose for his learning purpose, pace, structure, and content of learning. Now, understanding so many terminologies would be really confusing. So in general term, all these are brought together under one umbrella term, which we call it as computer mediated learning. So all these definitions can be cohesively clubbed under computer mediated learning, which is nothing but a concept where an individual can interact with learners either formally, informally, synchronously, asynchronously using a computer. wherein the learner and the teacher would be at an advantage, because sometimes we would have the material already ready with us and just it could be a delivery mode. The main goal of having this computer mediated learning is to make it more student centric, wherein the student will have an advantage what to read, when to read, how to hear. All this would be at the advantage of the student. Also, the student can modulate the pace of learning. He can repeat, rewind, replay the lectures, and he can understand it much better. And also the student will have an advantage that he can ask for additional information from other students or other student platforms, instructors, using technology. So basically, when we talk about these online teaching learning pedagogies, it is very important to understand that we have various approaches wherein we can use it in our teaching learning system. Now, since we have been talking about online learning or e-learning, we need to understand very, very correctly what it exactly refers to. So when I introduce online learning, I would basically call it as a learning which is mediated by the internet. And it is a definition wherein it is between networked learning and e-learning. So I would say that it's wider in aspect compared to network learning, which focuses on human-human connections. So one example you can give for network learning is MOOCs, Massive Online Open Resource System. And if I wish to talk with respect to e-learning, that is, online term is narrower compared to e-learning. E-learning is a much broader umbrella term, wherein it takes into account a lot of digital avenues, and it covers more digital tools and resources. Now, when we are knowing about online teaching in today's time, we say that it is not an option, it has become a necessity. The reason is because online teaching has emerged as Victor Ludorum, that is a champion amidst all the online approaches during this corona pandemic. There are various tools available. To name some, we have Gmail, Google Forms, calendars, G Drives, Google Hangouts, Google Jamboards, etc. Plenty more to name, wherein we can use it in our teaching learning system. These tools can be used as an alternative to face-to-face classroom teaching to online mode. And also the teaching learning process, as I've been already mentioned, that it increases the student-centric approach and it makes the teaching learning process more innovative and flexible. The only concern with this kind of approach is to have quality enhancement. This is a crucial point at this stage where we have embraced online teaching learning system. So I would summarize it as that online teaching is the panacea for the crisis. We also understand what are the rewards of this teaching learning system. First and foremost, convenience. It's a 24/7 access approach from any online computer, and this will help in cutting down commuting time for the student and also on the economic concerns which the student would be worried about. It also has an advantage of enhanced learning. Research has shown that there is more depth of understanding and there is a wider way of learning. The reason being, it's not only the content, but also on online basis, when the student is being asked to go with this teaching learning system, he learns self-discipline. He also knows how to manage his time. So he's made to learn time management. He becomes independent. So that is why we say that it is enhanced learning. The another reward which is of advantage to students is leveling of the playing field. It means that there are different caliber students in a class. So sometimes shy students may not be comfortable in face-to-face interaction. But on this online platform, these students get an advantage because of the secrecy. That is, they can hide themselves and they also get time to think before they can interact with the student. So this helps in leveling of the playing field. The next reward, I would call it as interaction. So this is a platform where student to teacher and student to student interaction or discussions can be more, and the approach becomes again student centric. because rather than just sitting in a class and listening passively, now this reflects a more active learning means, and there would be a more greater sense of connectedness and synergy. The next reward is innovation teaching. It is not only student centric, but the teacher is also at an advantage, because when teacher wants to hold the attention of the student, the teacher would embrace new technology concepts, would come out with new innovative ideas, would like to go with a PowerPoint presentation in delivering his lectures. So this way, the innovation will be brought into the teaching skills. So innovative teaching would make teaching learning more creative and also very effective. The next reward would be improved administration. Now, improved administration is from the perspective that the teacher would get more time to do student work, as he would be giving more focus on not only the delivery of the developed content, but also on assessment, and he can record a lot of things online. So this will prove to be an effort by the teacher, wherein he can record all his lectures, he can record the attendance and all other academic details of the student by just a click. The next reward would be savings. Now, savings is with respect to not only the, it's not reflecting the economic factor, it's basically with respect to the student satisfaction. Now, because online platform, we can accommodate more number of students. It could be even in thousands. It could be beyond that. So when we can accommodate more students, we can bring in more student satisfaction, we can have higher retention. So that way we refer it to be that it could be of savings. We need not repeat the lecture face to face, we need to repeat it. Whereas in case of online mode, we are overcoming these limitations. The next reward would be to maximize physical resources. When I talk about physical resources, it is with respect to the infrastructure. So there would be less demand of on-campus infrastructure. There would be decreased congestion in the campuses, parking lots, etc. So that way we can save on physical resources. And the last reward, I would call it as outreach. Here the student would have more options to reach student community. Even the teacher will have an advantage that they can reach new student markets, appeal the current students to enroll. So enrollment ratio will be larger. So that way there would be a good outreach when we adapt to online teaching learning pedagogy. Since we have looked the one side of the coin, we have been talking about the advantages. It is also very important to understand what are the problems associated with this kind of pedagogy. I would like to name some of the problems. The first and foremost is from the teacher point of view. Now, teacher is supposed to prepare a product. So I call it as a product-oriented approach and a process-oriented approach. That is, he needs to first develop the content for online means, and then he needs to deliver it effectively, keeping in mind that the delivery would give clear learning objectives to the students. So his content has to be structured carefully, and it has to be in such a way that even he doesn't get overloaded by his workload. At the same time, the teacher would also need to integrate media. He needs to integrate student activities, assessment activities, apart from development of the teaching content. It's again, I would say that for teachers, it is very challenging because the role of teacher becomes multitasking here. I would call the roles to be that a teacher has to be a constructor, he needs to become an actor, and he also needs to become an instructor. In the context of being a constructor, I refer to that teacher has to design the task, he has to develop that environment and resources which will help the students to learn. He has to play the role of an actor. He has to enact the designed lesson plan by being an orchestrator or a facilitator. And finally, he has to have a very efficient and an effective instructing means wherein he can give desired instructions to his students. During COVID-19, our teachers across the globe had to take up all these 3 jobs overnight. And the challenge was tremendous, and most of the teachers have succeeded. To add on to the problems associated with online teaching learning, there are much more. Again, it is with regard to embracing the technology. Like, even if we are technology savvy, we would have problems with downloading, installations, login problems, audiovisual problems. So this, the student and the teacher both have to manage. From student point of view, sometimes the online lectures could be boring and unengaging. So it plays a very important role because, as I told you, the attention span of a learner is very crucial. So one has to be an effective communicator. So communication has to be very strong in order to reach out the learners. And also because the students are at an advantage of having more time and flexibility, the student would be postponing his learning activities. And finally, he would never get time to do his online learning. So from this point of view, it would be a disadvantage. Also, the student may lose his attention because if the lecture goes on monotonously and one-sidedly, passively, the student would lose the attention and would not be interested. Now, online teaching many a times is very theoretical, and this would debar the students from hands-on training. So the students would not learn effectively. Sometimes the mediocre course content, which is developed by an amateur teacher, would also be a matter of concern because there is no rating scale of what content and what kind of product you have developed. So rating scale is not available. And if you see across internet, you would see that one course offered by different platforms have different credits, have different approaches. So it's very, very confusing that there is no quality benchmark. Also, the students would miss out the feel of being in community. That is, they would lack it. They would face technical problems and they would have difficulty in understanding what is meant by instructional goals. And also at some times, it is very difficult to engage learners because they have less knowledge regarding learning management systems. So knowing the problems, it is also important to understand what are the challenges. If I need to mention about challenges, the first and foremost is that online teaching mode may not be useful for some courses like engineering, even pharmacy, or science-related courses where hands-on training is must for students. So practical training cannot be done effectively through online mode. The second challenge would be that we need to have an intelligent integration of technology and assessment strategies. Still, we are working on it because, as I said, overnight, the transition had to be made. The paradigm shift was seen, but still there are miles to cover. So for that reason, we need to understand the assessment strategies, how we can integrate it with use of technology. Of course, we need to develop a robust plan to meet the challenges of the future, but these plans should be simple and at the same time effective. A very important reason or the challenge facing across the globe for all universities is the digital divide. Now, this digital divide is expected to widen rather than narrowing. The reason is because of the economic status or the socio-economic status of masses. There are underprivileged learners who are deprived of internet access and also the gadgets. So for that reason, the digital divide is going to widen. But all this could be overcome, all these challenges could be dealt with, provided we are an effective way and we know how to use the technology in the right sense. Now, summarizing all that we have understood, what are its strengths, what are the weaknesses and the opportunities and challenges, I would like to put forward SWOT analysis of online learning. When I talk about SWOT analysis, first I would like to highlight the strength, that is with respect to flexibility of time, location flexibility, we can cater to a wider audience, and also there is a wider availability of courses and content, and we can also get immediate feedback. The weaknesses include technical difficulties, as we've been talking, learners' capability and confidence level would be a big challenge. Time management is very important by students, distractions, frustration, confusion. These are the terms which we generally hear from our students when we are interacting them on virtual mode, and also lack of personal or physical attention by the student. When I talk about the opportunities, we have ample opportunities. To name some, it has a wider scope of innovation and digital development. We also have an advantage of designing flexible programs. We can also strengthen skills such as problem solving skills, critical thinking, and adaptability. Because with hard skills in today's time, soft skills play a major role. Then user can be of any age. So we call it as lifelong learning. So there is a scope of lifelong learning. Then adapting an innovative pedagogical approach. Online term is a broader term, and we need to keep abreast with the development in technology. It is not that today I learned some management system and I be contented with it, because tomorrow there would be an innovation with technology. So we need to adapt and integrate in our teaching learning practice. And challenges, of course, unequal distribution of ICT infrastructure, which has led to the digital divide. Quality of education is the biggest concern. We need to have some regulation on the online content which is being available or developed across the globe. Then there is wide digital illiteracy still. Though we are in the globalized world where technology has overtaken, or technology-driven world, but still we see that major ratio of the population suffers from digital illiteracy. Then of course we have technology cost and obsolescence. If you don't keep updating yourself, you may become obsolete. So for that reason, you need to be very much aware of the latest developments. Now, as we have talked about problems, challenges, disadvantages, or weaknesses, it would be right on our part also to come out with solution, because it is very well said that if you have a problem, always come with 2 solutions at least. So with that approach, I would like to put forward what could be the possible solutions for these problems which we have analyzed. The solutions could be that the technical difficulties can be solved by doing pre-recording lectures. So if your concern is, I may not be able to deliver online content effectively, it's wise that we develop pre-recorded lectures. You have a lot of options to record your lectures free of cost, and that could be played. And in case, even if it goes wrong, always keep your plan B ready. So as a teacher, you need to be alert and you need to be ready so that you don't lose the attention of your learner. The next approach could be that, or the next solution could be that we have to make our online teaching learning dynamic, interesting, and effective. We need to make our learners grip to the seat, that they hear us, they understand what we are speaking. And the content delivery has to be effectively communicated. So communication should be extraordinarily good. So we need to work on our soft skills. As a teacher, we are learners. So student and teacher, being co-learners, they have to work on their individual domains in order to make teaching learning more effective. The next solution could be that teacher could set the time limits and reminders for students. So you need to be keeping them on toes, that they also show the engagement. To keep the students engaged, this would be mandatory that we give them time limit kind of assignments. We need to be having an approach where we humanize the learning process to the best extent possible. We need to understand their problems also. So we cannot be one-sided and try to deliver the content. We need to understand the perspective of the students. In addition to having our focus on pedagogical issues and trying to bring in collaborative learning, taking up case learning, that is case studies, we can emphasize on project-based learning through online instructions. The one more solution could be that we can make our online programs very creative. So if I quote my own example, I have learned how to use these animation in the PowerPoint. So that is a new addition or the new feather in the cap, where technology comes as a rescue. You can also make it more interactive, you can make it more relevant, and of course, the student would be gripped to your lectures. The next solution could be use social media as much as possible. Not are the days where our teachers used to say no mobiles are allowed in the classroom. Now we'll have to encourage, we'll have to adapt to ICT skills, and we'll have to go social. It is not teaching learning within four walls of a classroom. So we'll have to create groups. We'll have to have a lot of forums wherein we can have effective communication with students and instant communication with students. And also the solution could be quality of course should be regularly improved. So it has to be a continuous process. It is not that I recorded my lecture and I use it every batch when my students are changed. That would not be sufficient. We'll have to upgrade and reflect that in our teaching learning practices. Now, again, after knowing all this, it is very important to understand which are the initiatives which have emerged due to COVID-19 pandemic. So I would say categorize them into different headings. The first, which or the initiative which has come out due to this corona pandemic, or something which I call it as it has been a boon to the educational sector, is EdTech startups. Now, EdTech startups, it is happening widely in K-12 zone. When I say K-12 zone, it is schooling up to 12th. That is, we call it as K-12 zones. But also in higher education, it has had a greater impact. So just delving into a bit of history of EdTech, it all started from writing slates. The first teaching learning means was using writing slates, which was used in 1100. Then came the first printing press by Johannes Gutenberg, which was in 1440. Then came the introduction of abacus, which was a person who basically dealt with fundamentals of mathematics. Then that was in the year 1600. Then came the era where Thomas Edison prompted first film click as a replacement for teacher. So that happened in 1913. Then Sidney Pressley invented first teaching machine, famously called as the MCQ machine. This was in the year 1927. And the first online education ever to happen, it originated at the University of Illinois. And when we talk about Indian perspective, the India's EdTech journey finally began with the launch of EduCom in our schools in 1994. And in 2010, the EdTech startups entered the education market and disrupted the education sector. We saw a wide range of companies entering into the education sector, and there was a wide disruption of going tech savvy. And the latest revolution was in 2019, where a learner application called Baiju became a sensation and one of the most valued edtech companies of India. So I would mention here that online learning is the future. And if there was no virus, that realization would have taken many more years. And this has accelerated the process. So COVID-19 has been boon with respect to adapting our online learning. But at the same time, I would also like to emphasize that EdTech is a supplement to a teacher and it cannot replace a teacher, but only it is a facilitator. It can enhance our instruction way. The other approach, apart from EdTech companies or EdTech startups across the world, we also saw in India, the government taking a lot of initiatives and coming up with a lot of approaches, especially in higher education sector during this pandemic, that how they could reach out to students and how our learners could be benefited. To name some, the government came up with eGyan Kosh. It's a national digital repository. Basically, it shares the digital learning resources. Now, this is developed by Open and Distant Learning Institution of India. We have also Gyan Darshan. Now, Gyan Darshan is a web-based TV channel which is devoted to educational and development needs for open and distant learners. We have another initiative, Gyan Dhara. Now, Gyan Dhara is an internet audio web radio counseling service offered by IGNOU. Now, here the student has an advantage that he can listen to the live classroom lectures of teachers and experts, and he can be aware of the topic of the day and he can get connected. We have another initiative, Swayam. I'm sure many of us are aware of this initiative by the government. Swayam basically offers MOOCs, that is massive open online courses, which has an advantage that it is helping around 140 universities which are offering credit transfer courses for the learners. Now, our education policy, which has been launched latest, has given us a flexibility for our learners to go with credit-based choice system. So Swayam also plays an important role. We also have another initiative by Government of India, that is EPG Pathshala. This is exclusively for postgraduate students who can access this platform for online courses and study materials. Apart from that, we also have E-Adhyayan. Now, E-Adhyayan is basically providing around more than 700 ebooks, especially for postgraduate courses. We have E-Pathya. It's again a virtual platform, or we can call it as a vertical of EPG Pathshala. Basically, it is a package which facilitates students to pursue higher education in distance learning mode. Sorry. We have National Digital Library of India. It is a repository of e-content on multiple disciplines for all kinds of users, from being a teacher to a student, researcher, librarian, etc. We have eYantra. This is a platform which provides hands-on experience on embedded system. So it is at least providing us around 380 labs and has made around 2,300 colleges to be benefited. We also have National Education Alliance for Technology. This is an initiative for skilling learners in latest technology through public-private partnership model. We have FOSSEI. The full form of FOSSEI is Free and Open Source Software for Education. It is developed to promote open source software for education as well as professional use. Virtual Labs, I'm sure many of us are aware of it. Now, Virtual Lab has developed web-enabled curriculum-based experiments. It's mainly for remote operations. We have eShodh Sindhu, which is nothing but collection of e-journals, e-journal archives, and ebooks. And this could be accessed for long. We have Shodh Ganga. Now, Shodh Ganga is a repository which has the ability to capture, index, and store, disseminate electronic thesis and dissertation submitted by the researchers. We have Sakshat. It is a portal which provides latest news, press releases, achievements related to Ministry of HRD. So one can visit Sakshat to know what is happening in the world of online learning. And finally, we have one more avenue, which we call it as Vidwan. Now, this is a premier database and a national resource network, which has profile of all the scientists, researchers, faculty members who are working at leading national institutions or R&D centers in India. Now, having taken so many initiatives on a government point of view or the private aspect, we need to predict what would be the post-COVID trends of our higher education. And we will be at an advantage understanding what is the post-COVID trends, because we will be ready to prepare ourselves to meet the demands of this post-COVID trends. It is very important to state here that we might have to encourage personalized learning. Now, when we talk about encouraging personalized learning we'll have to make our students pursue their learning in new paradigms as per their choice. We'll also see a drop in attendance. Student attendance may slow down. First and foremost reason is concern. Parents would not be confident of sending their wards at least for next 6 months to 1 year, as they fear that the pandemic is still on the rise, as we hear the news that second wave is on. So we would not get adequate attendance as we desire. So education from home will be preferred. Also, we will see a drop in national and international student mobility. Of course, international travel would be risky and challenging, at least for 2 to 3 years. down the time. And for that reason, we would see that on-campus crowd would be less. So again, from face-to-face mode to online mode would be the preference. Learning with social distancing may continue. Though we have opened our universities, though we have started calling our students, but still the concept of social distancing, COVID guidelines have to be borne in mind. And this would be challenging that in order to accommodate all the students, because the infrastructure cannot be doubled overnight. So in order to accommodate the students and to maintain social distancing would force us to have a blended mode of learning. Educational institution may opt either blended mode or may go into running in shifts. Now, running in shifts is because when we are talking of social distancing, we will be calling students in groups. And this would put a lot of burden on the teaching fraternity, because you will have to repeat the same instructions and lectures to a number of groups, and the working hours and the working load will tremendously increase. Other aspects would be that it may raise the gap between privileged and underprivileged students. As I said, digital divide. So this would be again a matter of concern, because of the socio-economic reasons, we would see that in coming time, the gap would widen. The other disadvantage or the trend which would be booming in our near future would be that teaching learning may run with technology. So we will have to integrate technology more and more in our teaching learning practices. Not only in teaching learning practices, we'll have to bring in an entertainment factor also in our teaching learning practices, so that we keep our youngsters or the young learners connected. And this would be a really challenging task for the teachers. Talking about assessment, today is the world of artificial intelligence. There would be a time in near future that artificial intelligence would be doing all this job for a teacher. So we have to embrace artificial intelligence, and I would call that, or we are already into education 4.0. So the education sector has already revolutionized and entered into era of 4.0. So we need to integrate this concept of artificial intelligence, and this would enhance the quality of teaching, because when the softwares or the computers are performing the role, teacher would have more time and more effort has to be put by the teachers in making his goals very clear to the students. There would be an increasing demand for open and distance learning, and of course, online learning will grow. So this would continue, and we will never go back to our previous way of working. We'll have to learn to live with the innovation. And as I mentioned, blended learning is the future. Also, it is reflected that student debt crisis may increase, because majority of students in our Indian scenario take education loans. So when they are taking education loans and they are not getting into right employment, the crisis of having economic crunch would rise. So student debt crisis definitely is going to increase in the post-COVID era. And unemployment rate. Unemployment rate would be a matter of concern, though we are making our generations ready for the future. As I mentioned, by the time we approach 2030, there would be so many new jobs which we are not even aware of, that how these generations are going to accommodate themselves would be a real challenge in front of them. So keeping all this in mind, what could be projected as the future state of art is, we need to understand that education is nudged and pushed to change. That is, education will definitely be under a lot of force and pressure, and this could lead to surprising innovations which we are not even aware of. I would also like to mention that in future, we would like to see, or we will be seeing, public-private educational partnerships growing more. So now are gone the days, as our national education policy also has emphasized, that only one coin university word would be popular, and they have very clearly defined what this word would mean. So public-private educational partnership would be seen with amalgamation of these two different streams coming together. digital divide would definitely widen, and this is really a matter of concern because the underprivileged would be left behind. Face-to-face classroom learning will be complemented with new learning modalities. It would not be our conventional teaching learning process, but integration of technology will definitely be a must in the future. With the time of 5G, now we are out of 4G and we have entered 5G. When we talk about 5G technology, it has given us an advantage of learn anytime concept, and we need to go by it. Already countries like US, Japan have gone with the trend of 5G. So in India, we are also stepping in, but we need to have the right preparedness to go with this concept of 5G technology. And ultimately, keeping all these aspects in mind, I would say that resilience. Resilience is something which we need to build in our educational system. That is, we need to be flexible. We need to adapt as and when the time demands. So our approach has to be very, very flexible. So resilience would be mandatory in our educational scenario. Talking about recommendations, in order to keep abreast with the going times, some recommendations which I would like to propose is for both educators and learners that everybody should be trained to utilize online teaching pedagogies. That is, usage of technology should be made. That is why this short-term training program has rightly kept the title skilling. It is not only the knowledge, it is skilling of an individual. So you need to be skilled to use the technology rightly. The next recommendation would be that policy should be adapted by the government and universities to provide free internet and free digital gadgets to all learners in order to cover up the digital divide. So though it may be pinching the pockets of the government and the institutions, but I'm sure this would be one of the ways how we reach out to our learners, and that would be an attraction factor in the near future. We also have to understand that we have to take immediate measures where we can lessen the effects of the pandemic on job offers, internship programs, and research projects, which our students are deprived right now. So we need to overcome these challenges, and we have to offer them job avenues. We'll have to take them into internship programs, training schedules, so that hands-on training and skilling of learners is maximum. The next recommendation is establishing quality assurance mechanisms and quality benchmarks for online learning programs. So we need to have some regulation. We need to have some benchmarks that yes, this quality cannot be compromised in teaching learning process. We need to develop new approaches for academic assessment, which would be very surely coming, we'll all be coming with some avenues wherein we develop new approaches. We need to focus more on virtual educational activities. So as we were engaging on campus activities, now we'll have to explore on virtual educational activities. So definitely, I would say that education should be continued on virtual mode, along with face-to-face classroom teaching. And before I conclude, I would like to mention what is the way forward. What is the way forward? In my perspective, I feel that much emphasis should be given to learning pedagogies and assessment methods in order to promote innovative teaching. The next approach would be adapt edtech models in educational institution, and that would be as a supplement to the regular teaching mode. We need to develop disaster management committees at university levels so that they have a plan ready in case we have to meet with some sudden crisis, as already it happened in the past due to the intervention of Corona. And finally, the whole process of imparting education, which has changed dramatically, and this paradigm shift would be the roadmap for the future ahead. Well, with this, I would like to summarize the learning outcomes of my talk. I started with status quo. I mentioned about the scenario of the current generation in our educational institution. I touched upon what is the staggering impact of COVID-19. I also spoke on what is the paradigm shift, that is from face-to-face classroom teaching to virtual mode, and this has turned out to be a catalyst for the educational structure or the sector. I introduced various teaching learning pedagogies. amongst which the popular being online learning or e-learning. And I spoke on the SWOT analysis of this online teaching concept and what are the possible solutions and also approaches and future state of art. And finally, I conclude my talk with the way forward. And I would like to mention that the past and present have much to be known about the future, and the future will be much about the past, as quoted by Stephen M. Millet. So thank you very much. That's it from my side.
Thank you, ma'am. It's nice topic.
Thank you, madam. Your topic and your lecture was really informative for, I think, all the participants and for all of us who are actually struggling with the online teaching right now. Because as you mentioned, the generation Z and generation Alpha, both are actually growing along with this pandemic, and both are actually want to adapt these technologies for the better teaching learning. So this teaching learning pedagogy obviously is going to change dramatically into this digital era. And you are actually, your lecture was very much informative regarding all these things, because we people are also new for all these online teaching learning, and we are also learning about these new things. And the highlight of your lecture, I would like to mention that it was the whatever the India has actually given the different platforms for this higher education, like Gyan Darshan, Gyan Dhara, Swayam, and lots of FOSSEE, Sakshat, Vidwan, whatever you have given us the different modules which will provide us the different information about the higher education and how we can implement that in our teaching. So that will be, I think, very helpful. And your slides with, I think, colorful slides, and your presentation was very attractive for all of us, and it was very much engaging and entertaining also. So I would like to thank you on behalf of Modern College of Pharmacy, Nigdi, Pune. And as the whole world is becoming virtual, I would like to give, or we would like to present you the virtual bouquet and certificate. Madam, please accept the virtual bouquet and certificate from all of us. Sir.
Thank you, madam. I accept it wholeheartedly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam, once again. So proceeding with our next lecture, I think our next speaker has also joined the meeting. So, Professor, should we start with our next lecture?
I'll stop
Yes.
screen sharing, madam.
Yes.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. Before starting the session, I would like to read some chats, especially for the Hema madam. Madam,
Yes,
so many faculty have written in the chat box. That is a very
Yes,
nice, informative session. Very attractive slides and excellent session is given by the Dr. Chaudhary madam. We got a lot of charts regarding and good comments on your session. Thank you, madam. On the behalf of
Thank
Peace
you.
Society, we are very
and in
thankful
fact,
to you.
I would like to mention here, sir, these slides, actually, I learned it from my student, how to make it. So I have no shyness in telling this, that definitely youngsters are more tech savvy generation. And one of my student actually, when she was doing a PPT, I learned it from her. And now I learned how to do these presentations.
Yes, that's great. Thank you, madam.
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much, sir. Thank you.